Hey everybody, Mature Simmer here. It picked a normal morning time, but somehow it loaded in at 7:32 a.m., so we've adjusted that. If you noticed a lighting difference, no, it's not your eyes. So, welcome back to the VFR TBM 850 Around the World series. We are on leg 46 this week. We're going to be traveling from Walvis Bay to Cape Town, all the way down in South Africa. So we will have finally gotten to the bottom of the continent. So if we take a look, we're basically coming down here and making a few turns as we get closer, but really just trying to stay near the coast for the most part. So nothing too complex. So let's start getting ourselves fired up and ready to get out of here. Have strobe. Get all our instruments turned on. So by now, if you followed the series for any length of time, you know the drill. I'll get the radios on because those take a little bit of time. Get bleed on, air conditioning on, that on. Okay. For the most part, we're good there. We will import our flight plan. And so Foxtrot Yankee Whiskey Bravo to Foxtrot Alpha Charlie Tango with 5 waypoints in between. Now there are some actual points of interest, I suppose we'll call them. I was going to say 5 actual waypoints, but that's not actually a good explanation. So just verifying, whoops, always just flips. All right. Interesting. It's where the engine condition was lower at one point, and I never had to repair it. But anyway, we'll get this on, get this going. So there goes our propeller. In the meantime, we'll get ourselves to 2,500 with about 800 to go. Okay, we're at 15. We'll get to low, bring up the ITT, but stay in a stable range. Then we're waiting to get to 50. And there we go. Now we can go up to high. We can get our trim set, get our flaps down, and the temperature's starting to rise in the cabin from 58 outside to 59. And at this point, turn that off, give ourselves some power back, get our taxi lights on. Pretty bad with the lights, but so interesting though, because really I guess we want to go over there. In theory, these are X'd out, because I thought this would be a pretty good location, but it doesn't appear to be. Okay, we have that. We do want to get our autopilot ready to go, but we can begin our trek here. And start moving to the runway. So again, I don't know that we're really going to hit anything superbly. That was a weird sound. I don't know if you heard those chirps, but I've never heard that before, so I don't know what that is. Oh, great. Please don't tell me we're going to have this all the time. I will try to figure that out. So, nav. So we're
approaching runway 9.
Head out this way. Decrease a bit. We need to get this to GPS. Go. So then the arm goes away. Because, yeah, we're basically taking off east-west. All right, I'd love to know what is making that sound. So what I don't know is there something weird with SayIntentions? I don't know if there is or not. Right, so we're gonna stop here. Get ourselves our landing lights on, turn off our taxi, and we're gonna call in into the tower, get ourselves position. Fywb-Fact Tower, November 191 Mike Alpha, requesting VFR 2,500 feet to Cape Town, ready for takeoff. So we'll kind of confuse it a little bit. We'll see what it does.
November 1, Mike Alpha, runway 27, winds 270 at 4, cleared for takeoff. Climb altitude 2,500 feet. Left circuit.
I'm 2,500 feet, left circuit, November 191 Mike Alpha. So I'm going to have to see. Fywb-Fact Tower, November 191 Mike Alpha, requesting VFR at 2,500 feet to Cape Town. So I'm thinking because I combined things, I created a bit of a problem.
November 1, Mike Alpha, runway 27, cleared for takeoff. Climb altitude 2,500 feet. Left circuit.
All right, I guess that's all it's going to tell us, so. All right, well, it's still doing whatever.
Approaching runway
I'm not sure I'm going to be
9.
able to figure out what that is. It's really odd. I'm like, did they add some feature and something I'm using that gives me a tone? I don't know. All right, so here we go. And again, we have over 400 miles on our first leg. So I'm just going to get airborne, and we'll chat about things then.
9,400 feet.
Pretty good on the center line. Much better than I've been in the past. All right, we can lift off here. There we go. Positive rate. Whoop. We had positive rate. Gear up. Yaw damper. Gonna get the autopilot, and we're gonna arm our nav and all that. So about 500, but I assume it will start to fix that. There we go. So pulling itself back up to 700. We will put flaps in, and away we go. So, as we float up here, oops, move the box a little too far over. I guess I just need to do that. All right, so he's going to come in there. We're going to go put ourselves on terrain, as we always do. Zoom out. I'm imagining. Interesting the way this is showing, because It's showing like north is that way, but I don't know. Oh, I see, heading up. How do I change that? Is that some new default? It probably always honestly does that, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, we're basically making sure that we're in yellow. You know, there's clearly some hills, but we're only at 1300. We're only about halfway up. So what we have as the narration, and again, I probably won't get Sarah going until we get close to waypoint 1. We'll just let her randomly tell us about what's around, which she does a great job in. 717 nautical miles is going to be the distance that we are flying. The other thing I need to do is get myself set on kind of the, let me zoom out here, so we don't want a red line. And we get we get ourselves on TBM, altitude. And that should be good, because then that will get us, you know, right now we're still climbing, but it'll still speed up the climb a little bit, just simply because we've got faster airspeed, but we'll ultimately get up to 225. So you can see now we're basically yellow-green. 2500 will be fine. We might need something, but I think we stay to the west of the mountains the whole way as we go down the coast, because I'm just kind of looking at the inset that they have provided in the narrative. But we're going from Namibia, where we've taken off here at Walvis Bay, and heading to South Africa. So what we have as the narrative, first half of this leg will show you why Namibia is so sparsely populated. We'll be flying over the Namib Desert, and you could be forgiven for thinking that we had somehow been suddenly transported to Mars. Still, it's not quite as stark as parts of the Sahara, and you will see occasional signs of habitation, mostly in the forms of mining operations. We'll return to the coastline shortly after crossing into South Africa, former home to apartheid and Nelson Mandela. Follow the coastline. Follow the coastline down to Cape Town on the southwestern coast. So that, in essence, is what we will be doing. So again, waypoints 1 through 4, that is what they are. So we basically have all the narrative we're going to get through that. And then I think I just didn't call them anything creative, because there weren't habitations around. So I think it's just waypoint 1, 2. I might have done something for 3 or 4. I honestly don't remember. But again, Sarah will do what Sarah will do. I'm going to get our radio tuned to CTAF. That will help.
Since there aren't any points of interest popping up right now, let's talk about Plum Airport, the closest airstrip to us. Plum Airport is a small, lesser-known airfield, but it's a lifeline for the local community and adventurous pilots. These kinds of rural airstrips often serve as crucial hubs for medical flights, supply drops, and even the occasional bush pilot showing off their short takeoff and landing skills. If you ever wanted to feel like a real aviation pioneer, landing at a place like Plum is about as close as you can get without growing a mustache worthy of the early 1900s. It's the kind of spot where you half expect to see a biplane parked next to a goat.
All right, so I was using my air pointer. Like, there's electricity, clearly, like power line towers going out or coming in. I'm going to assume they're going out to something, because I'm thinking taking off from an airport is probably likely the more inhabited area. So, you know, it's just, I don't know. Like, there's something there, and, you know, it could just be a substation or something, because obviously then power lines go out underneath us and over. I mean, they might just stretch power across the country. That would be kind of crazy because it doesn't look like there's stuff up here, but things keep appearing. So yeah, it'll be interesting when it gets out here. Like, does it just stop at the edge of the desert or some sort of building or whatever? Maybe not. Because, yeah, it's basically turning, but it does look like it's kind of skirting the edge of the desert. Like, we don't see any over there. Hard to see, but I assume this is part of the Namib Desert. It looks like there's some fingers of greenery that we had left that come from there, but now it's just a lot of sand. And I don't know if this stretches for our 440 nautical miles or not, but we will give you the view. Obviously, I'll be checking here and there if I need to, but we are on our way. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Ganap traffic, Station Air 404 taxiing to runway 27, Ganap.
Since we're flying near Gobabeb, let me tell you about the Gobabeb Research and Training Center. Established in 1962, this unique facility sits right at the edge of three distinct ecosystems: the Namib Sand Sea, the Gravel Plains, and the Kwiseb River. Scientists from all over the world flock here to study desert ecology, climate, and how life manages to survive in such extreme conditions. The area is famous for its dramatic sand dunes, some of which are among the highest in the world, and the rare fog that rolls in from the Atlantic, providing much-needed moisture. Since we're in the heart of the Namib Desert, let me tell you about the Fywb River, which is one of the most fascinating features in this region. The Fywb is an ephemeral river, meaning it only flows after heavy rains, which can be years apart. Despite its dry appearance most of the time, this river is a lifeline for wildlife and plants, creating a sharp boundary between the towering red dunes to the south and the gravel plains to the north. In fact, during World War II, two German geologists, Henno Martin and Hermann Korn, hid along the Fywb for over 2 years to avoid internment, surviving off the land like real-life desert Robinson Crusoes. It's amazing to think that such a seemingly barren landscape has been a place of refuge and survival. Since there aren't any specific points of interest popping up right now, let's talk about the closest airstrip to U.S. Plum Airport. Plum Airport is one of those hidden gems in the Namib Desert. It's a simple dirt strip, but it plays a big role for bush pilots and researchers working in this remote region. These kinds of airstrips are often the only way to get supplies, medical help, or even just a cold soda out here.
Whitwater West traffic, Cessna 444 taxiing to runway 29er, Whitwater West.
Since we're flying over the Namib Desert, let me tell you about the Namib Sand Sea. This incredible expanse is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognized in 2013 for its unique and ever-shifting dunes. Some of these dunes are among the tallest in the world, reaching up to 1,000 feet high. The sand here is estimated to be up to 5 million years old, making it one of the oldest deserts on Earth. Pilots love flying over this area because the patterns and colors of the dunes change with the light. It's like nature's own abstract painting. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest airstrip to us, Plum Airport. Plum Airport may not look like much from above, but these remote strips are the unsung heroes of desert aviation. Built to serve researchers, bush pilots, and the occasional thrill seeker, it's the kind of place where you might land and be greeted by a curious oryx instead of a baggage handler. Airstrips like this are vital for delivering supplies and providing emergency access to some of the most isolated parts of Namibia.
Whitwater West traffic, Skyline 109er taxiing to runway 29er, Whitwater West.
Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest city to us, Walvis Bay. This coastal city is famous for its deep-water harbor, which has been a vital stop for ships since the 18th century. It's also a hotspot for birdwatchers, thanks to its massive flamingo and pelican populations. Walvis Bay played a significant role during colonial times, bouncing between British and German control before finally becoming part of Namibia in 1994. The city is surrounded by salt pans that look almost otherworldly from above, and if you squint, you might just spot the pink hue from the salt-loving algae. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest city to us, Walvis Bay. This coastal city is famous for its deep-water harbor, which has been a vital stop for ships since the 18th century. It's also a hotspot for birdwatchers, thanks to its massive flamingo and pelican populations. Walvis Bay played a significant role during colonial times, bouncing between British and German control before finally becoming part of Namibia in 1994.
$500.
Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest city to us, Walvis Bay. This coastal city is famous for its deep-water harbor, which has been a vital stop for ships since the 18th century. It's also a hotspot for bird watchers, thanks to its massive flamingo and pelican populations. Walvis Bay played a significant role during colonial times, bouncing between British and German control before finally becoming part of Namibia in 1994. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest city to Ust-Luderitz. Luderitz is a quirky little coastal town that looks like someone dropped a slice of Germany right onto the edge of the Namib Desert. Founded in 1883 by Adolf Luderitz, it became famous during the early 1900s diamond rush, when fortune seekers flocked here hoping to strike it rich. The town is known for its colorful Art Nouveau buildings and the nearby ghost town of Kolmanskop, which was abandoned when the diamonds ran out and is now slowly being swallowed by sand. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest city to Lüderitz. Lüderitz is a quirky little coastal town that looks like someone dropped a slice of Germany right onto the edge of the Namib Desert. Founded in 1883 by Adolf Lüderitz, it became famous during the early 1900s diamond rush when fortune seekers flocked here hoping to strike it rich. The town is known for its colorful Art Nouveau buildings and the nearby ghost town of Kolmanskop, which was abandoned when the diamonds ran out and is now slowly being swallowed by sand. Lüderitz is also the gateway to some of Namibia's wildest coastline, where shipwrecks and seals outnumber people. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest city to Ust-Luderitz. Luderitz is a quirky little coastal town that looks like someone dropped a slice of Germany right onto the edge of the Namib Desert. Founded in 1883 by Adolf Luderitz, it became famous during the early 1900s diamond rush, when fortune seekers flocked here hoping to strike it rich. The town is known for its colorful Art Nouveau buildings and the nearby ghost town of Kolmanskop, which was abandoned when the diamonds ran out and is now slowly being swallowed by sand. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest city to Ust-Luderitz. Luderitz is a quirky little coastal town that looks like someone dropped a slice of Germany right onto the edge of the Namib Desert. Founded in 1883 by Adolf Luderitz, it became famous during the early 1900s diamond rush, when fortune seekers flocked here hoping to strike it rich. The town is known for its colorful Art Nouveau buildings and the nearby ghost town of Kolmanskop, which was abandoned when the diamonds ran out and is now slowly being swallowed by sand. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest airport to U.S. Scorpion Mine Airport. This airstrip was built to serve the Scorpion Zinc Mine, which is one of the largest zinc mines in the world. The airport itself is a no-frills kind of place, mostly used by charter flights bringing in mine workers and supplies. It's not exactly a tourist hotspot, but it's a lifeline for the mining operation and the surrounding community. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest airport to U.S. Scorpion Mine Airport. This airstrip was built to serve the Scorpion Zinc Mine, which is one of the largest zinc mines in the world. The airport itself is a no-frills kind of place, mostly used by charter flights bringing in mine workers and supplies. It's not exactly a tourist hotspot, but it's a lifeline for the mining operation and the surrounding community. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest town to us, Rosh Pina. This little mining town was established in the late 1960s after the discovery of zinc and lead deposits. Its name means Corner of Hope in Hebrew, which is pretty fitting for a place that sprang up in the middle of the desert thanks to a lucky find. Rosh Pina is a classic example of how a single discovery can transform an empty stretch of land into a bustling community. From above, you can spot the neat grid of streets and the mining operations that are the lifeblood of the town. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest town to us, Alexander Bay. This little town sits right on the border with Namibia and was established in the 1920s after the discovery of diamonds in the area. For decades, Alexander Bay was a restricted zone, and you needed special permission just to visit talk about exclusive. The Orange River meets the Atlantic Ocean here, creating a stark contrast between the desert and the water. From the air, you can spot the geometric patterns of old diamond mining operations, which look like a giant tried to play tic-tac-toe with the landscape. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest river to us, the Orange River. This mighty river is the longest in South Africa, stretching over 1,300 miles from the Drakensberg Mountains all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. It's a lifeline in this arid region, creating a lush green ribbon through the desert that you can spot from the air. The Orange River has been a natural border for centuries, and it's famous for its dramatic canyons and the diamonds that have been found in its gravel beds. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest town to us, Alexander Bay. This little town sits right on the border with Namibia and was established in the 1920s after the discovery of diamonds in the area. For decades, Alexander Bay was a restricted zone, and you needed special permission just to visit talk about exclusive. The Orange River meets the Atlantic Ocean here, creating a stark contrast between the desert and the water. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest airport to us, Clancy Airport. This airstrip was originally built to serve the diamond mining operations that put this region on the map. Clancy itself was once a closed town, accessible only to those working in the diamond industry, and the airport was the main gateway in and out. The runway is gravel, so landing here can be a bit of an adventure. Think of it as a free massage for the landing gear. Today, the airport is mostly used for charter flights and the occasional adventurous pilot exploring the wild west coast of South Africa. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest major natural feature to us, the Atlantic coastline. This stretch of South Africa's west coast is famous for its wild, rugged beauty and dramatic meeting of desert and ocean. The cold Benguela Current runs along this coast, bringing nutrient-rich waters that support huge colonies of Cape fur seals and a spectacular variety of seabirds. Early explorers like Bartolomé Dias in the late 1400s navigated these treacherous waters, often shrouded in fog and mystery. From up here, you can really appreciate how the desert sands seem to tumble right into the crashing surf. It's a view that has inspired many a pilot and poet alike. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest natural feature to us, the Namaqualand coastal strip. This stretch of South Africa's west coast is famous for its wild, rugged beauty and its transformation every spring. For a few magical weeks, the desert bursts into a riot of color as millions of wildflowers bloom, attracting botanists, photographers, and anyone who loves a good floral spectacle. The contrast between the arid landscape and the sudden explosion of color is so dramatic, it's like nature decided to throw its own surprise party. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest town to us, Msfs. This tiny settlement was once a bustling hub for diamond mining, thanks to De Beers setting up shop here in the 1970s. At its peak, Msfs had everything from a bowling green to a school, all built to support the mining families. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest town to us, Msfs. This tiny settlement was once a bustling hub for diamond mining, thanks to De Beers setting up shop here in the 1970s. At its peak, Msfs had everything from a bowling green to a school, all built to support the mining families. When the diamond rush slowed down, the town's population shrank dramatically, and today it's a quiet reminder of how fortunes can shift with the sands, literally. If you look closely, you might spot the neat little grid of streets and the remnants of mining operations, now slowly being reclaimed by the desert. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest town to us, Koyingnas. This tiny settlement was once a bustling hub for diamond mining, thanks to De Beers setting up shop here in the 1970s. At its peak, Koyingnas had everything from a bowling green to a school, all built to support the mining families. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest airport to us, Skavli Airport. This little airstrip is nestled right in the heart of the Western Cape's farmlands. It's the kind of place where the runway might have more sheep than planes on it at any given time. These rural strips are a lifeline for farmers, allowing them to get supplies, medical help, or even just a quick hop to the nearest town. If you ever wanted to feel like a true bush pilot, landing at a place like Skavli is about as authentic as it gets. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest town to us, Strandfontein. This little seaside village is perched on the Atlantic coast and is famous for its long, sandy beaches and dramatic cliffs. It was established in the early 20th century as a holiday retreat, and to this day, it's a favorite spot for whale watching, especially between June and November when southern right whales come close to shore. The town's name means beach fountain in Afrikaans, which is pretty fitting considering the endless ocean views. If you look closely from above, you might even spot the old Strandfontein lighthouse, which has been guiding ships since the 1920s. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest town to us, Lambert's Bay. This small fishing town has been around since the late 1800s and is sometimes called the Diamond of the West Coast. Not because you'll find any actual diamonds lying around, but because of its sparkling white beaches and famous Bird Island. Bird Island is home to thousands of Cape Gannets, and it's one of only 6 breeding colonies for these birds in the world. The town's harbor has seen everything from fishing boats to the occasional snoozing seal. And if you're lucky, you might spot dolphins surfing the waves just offshore. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest town to us Doring-by. This little fishing village sits right on the Atlantic coast and is known for its picturesque lighthouse, which has been guiding ships since 1963. The area around Doring-by is famous for its kelp forests and is a hotspot for abalone divers talk about a job with a view. The town's name means Thorn Bay in Afrikaans, and if you look closely, you might spot the old fish processing factory that's been converted into a quirky winery. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest town to us, Vredenburg. This town was established in the late 1800s and its name means peaceful town in Afrikaans, which is pretty fitting given its laid-back vibe. Vredenburg started as a watering hole for ox wagons heading to the coast, and it quickly became a hub for the surrounding farmlands. These days it's known for its spring wildflower displays that turn the landscape into a patchwork quilt of color. Since there aren't any specific points of interest showing up on our route right now, let me tell you about the closest airport to us, Saldanha/Vredenburg Airport. This airport was originally built during World War II as a military airfield, and you can still spot some of the old infrastructure if you look closely. These days, it's mostly used for general aviation and flight training, so it's not unusual to see student pilots nervously practicing their landings, hopefully with fewer bounces than a kangaroo on a tepranoline. Saldanha-Vredenburg Airport is also a popular spot for aviation enthusiasts who enjoy the wide-open views and the occasional fly-in event. At our 9 o'clock, just 3 kilometers out, you'll spot the West Coast National Park. This park was established in 1985 and is famous for its stunning display of wildflowers every spring. Imagine the landscape turning into a patchwork quilt of color. Birdwatchers absolutely love this place, as it's home to over 250 bird species, including flamingos and the rare African black oystercatcher. The park also protects the Langabon Lagoon, which is one of only 3 lagoons worldwide that aren't fed by a river talk about being unique. And if you're a fan of ancient history, the park contains Eve's footprint, fossilized human footprints estimated to be 117,000 years old. The closest airport to us right now is Delta 200 Airstrip, also known as FedEx. This little airstrip is tucked away near Coburg and is mostly used for general aviation and training flights. It doesn't have the hustle and bustle of a big international airport, but that's part of its charm. Think of it as the aviation equivalent of a quiet country road. The area around Coburg is also known for its massive nuclear power station, which you might spot from above, looking a bit like a sci-fi movie set. Pilots flying in here get a unique view of the West Coast landscape, with the Atlantic Ocean on one side and the rolling farmlands on the other. At our 2 o'clock, about 6 kilometers out, you'll spot the iconic Cape Town Stadium. This architectural marvel was built for the 2010 FIFA World Cup and can seat over 55,000 fans. Imagine the roar on game day. Its striking, bowl-shaped design is meant to blend with the surrounding landscape, though from up here, it kind of looks like a giant UFO has landed in Greenpoint. The stadium isn't just for sports, it's also hosted concerts by legends like U2 and Lady Gaga.
All right, so I'll probably have spliced things back in about this time. Something came up and I forgot I was flying, so I apologize. I didn't obviously jump on at any point at any of the waypoints. The additional information we have, which I'm sure you heard a little bit, is follow the coastline down to Cape Town. We had that. And then we said, take note of Robben Island at waypoint 5. It's now a museum. It was the site of the prison where Mandela was held for so many years. Make your landing at Cape Town International, and while we're here, consider taking a cable car up to the summit of Table Mountain and enjoying some great views of the city. But yeah, because I wasn't passing any of the info on, I never turned the tour on or anything like that, so I apologize. But yeah, stuff came up, and so I'll splice this together because by the time I came back and was focused on it, I was 90 miles past the airport. So we're actually coming back up. You can see we're headed at 050, just trying to intercept the runway path to runway 01. Should have our wheels down. We do. So we're going to go ahead and back off. And that should then slow us down a bit. About 9 miles out. And we'll see if it's the most scenic view, as they said, or not. Oh, we're getting close to running out of fuel, too. That didn't help, but that's also because I basically made this flight 900 miles now. So, that's obviously not what we wanted to do. All right. So, about 7.5 miles out. It's 01, so it should be... I think I might be seeing it, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, I believe it's there. So we're going to go ahead, turn off autopilot, and we're going to start getting ourselves down here. And hopefully I'm seeing the right thing. If not, we're going to have to go... No, that's just a road. So, where is the runway? Yeah, that is not the runway. I don't understand. Maybe it's way out there. Okay. Because yes, we are definitely over from it. Alright, we're going to lower our flaps the first spot. Get stable. Lower it again. And that obviously lifts us a good bit. Yes, that is the runway. That is much easier to tell now. So, 700 feet. But we'll get ourselves there. We'll get ourselves landed. And we'll be here. So, yes, not the best, but a lot of these African ones have just been point to point. So as I said, I got, I was kind of letting it fly with the intent to come back, and then the time I was to come back, something came up, and I had to divert my attention to that, and actually had to leave the house, and then came back and realized,
Caution.
that we had a plane on the screen flying. Because, yeah, I had seriously forgotten I was even on a flight with the stuff that I was dealing with.
At
so.
our 1 o'clock, just about a kilometer out, you'll spot Park Road Park. This green patch is a favorite for locals looking to escape the city buzz and get some fresh air. Parks like this one are a big deal in Cape Town. They're where families gather for picnics, kids race around pretending to be superheroes, and joggers try to convince themselves they're enjoying it. Park Road Park has been a community staple for decades, offering a bit of nature right in the heart of Mitchell's Plain.
Okay. Oh, almost 500 feet. Now we're a little high. We got 3 white and 1 red.
500.
Okay, now I'm really high, so let's try to get back on the glide path here. Well, we're coming in the right way because they just took off here. Alright, now we're back on the glide path. I just don't want to come back up too soon. But... and it's 0-1. That's where we want to be. So, back off a little bit more. We'll flare. We're floating. Trying to... going straight. Oh, we got our beeping back, which we still don't know what it's for. But I'm going to assume since the terminal's over there that, like, GA stuff's going to be out here somewhere. So, got some buildings over there. That might be our best place to go. So, clearly there's something with being on the ground. So yeah, it's something with one of the add-ons that I do. I couldn't tell you what it is. So I do apologize a little bit for the weird noise, but at least it wasn't going on during the whole flight, right? We'll take that. This is just gonna go. Maybe it will. I don't know. So maybe we'll just stop here. Put on our brakes. Because, yeah, I thought we'd be able to head out to that building, but it's just like power. I think this is just taking us to the runway. I guess the GA is really over there. At this point, I've taken long enough, so we're not gonna continue that. We'll just cut this off. Bring this down. It'll give us the continue screen. All right. So we are here in Cape Town. Finish that up, and we'll be continuing on next week. Again, apologize for a bit of the confusion, but, you know, sometimes life happens. If you've not liked or subscribed, please consider that, and I will see you next time.